Hi, I'm Matt Wetenkamp. I'm the Collaboration and Partnerships Coordinator for the Firearm Injury Prevention Initiative at the University of Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus. I'm a lifelong firearm owner, Marine Corps combat veteran, and an ardent supporter of Americans' right to bear arms. I know there are many good reasons for owning guns. I also know from years working in veteran services, suicide prevention, firearm safety, and just from being a dad, that whatever your reasons for owning guns, there are moments in life when access to a firearm increases the risk of injury or death in your home. Preventing unauthorized access to all firearms in the home is the responsibility of every gun owner and all adults in the home. Storing firearms securely when not in use is the most important step you can take to prevent suicide, intentional and unintentional injuries or deaths, and theft. You should frequently reevaluate your storage practices based on the evolving needs and dynamics of your household, including the presence of children or visitors, mental and physical health challenges, and travel away from home. Securely storing your firearms means keeping them in a locked position. That could mean securing them with an external device, like a cable lock, or storing them inside a lockbox or a gun safe. It also means ensuring that unauthorized persons, including children, cannot access them. Hiding firearms without otherwise securing them is not a recommended way to store firearms in the home. It's simply too easy for kids and other individuals to find them. So today I'm going to talk through how to properly use different firearm locking devices with a variety of commonly owned firearms. Now first, remember the basics of firearm safety anytime you're handling your guns, whether you're on the range, out on a hunt, or handling them at home. Now the 4 rules drilled into me in the Marine Corps are a great starting point and easy to remember. First, treat every weapon as if it were loaded. Second, keep your fingers straight and off the trigger until you intend to fire. Third, never point your weapon at anything you don't intend to shoot. And 4, keep your weapon on safe. That is, using the built-in safety that is on most firearms until you intend to fire. Now with those safety rules in mind, let's start with one of the most commonly available devices, a cable lock. Cable locks work with a wide variety of both handguns and long guns and can often be acquired for free or for just a few dollars online or in retail locations. Now we'll start with using a cable lock on a revolver. First, I'm going to treat this firearm as if it were loaded until I verify that it's not. To do this, I'll open the cylinder with the firearm pointed away from me and ensure that there are no rounds inside. Then, I can apply the cable lock by feeding it through the opening from the cylinder. Another option is to feed the cable directly through an individual cylinder. Either way, the cylinder cannot be closed and the gun cannot be fired. Lastly, I want to make sure it's secure by lightly pulling on the lock. Next, I'll demonstrate applying a cable lock to a semi-automatic handgun. Again, I'll first ensure it's unloaded and keep it pointed away from me. To do this, I'll remove the magazine. This one's already been removed. And we'll pull back and lock the slide and inspect it. Then, I'll take the end of the cable, feed it up through the magazine well and out through the ejection port. Feed the cable back into the lock, ensure it's secure, and now a magazine cannot be inserted and the gun cannot be loaded nor fired. Moving on to a semi-automatic rifle with a cable lock. Here, the principle is the same as a semi-automatic handgun. Again, I'll first ensure it's unloaded and keep it pointed away from me. Ensure no magazine is inserted. We've got the action open, and we'll inspect the chamber to ensure there's no round inside. Now with the action locked open, we'll feed the lock up through the magazine well, out the open port, and secure the lock. Give a tug on the lock, make sure it's secure. And again now, a magazine cannot be inserted and the weapon cannot be fired. Now finally, we've got a pump action shotgun. Once again, I'm going to keep this pointed in a safe direction while I rack back the slide and ensure that it's unloaded. With the slide locked back and the chamber open, we're going to take the ammunition feed at the bottom and manually lock it up. We're going to take the cable lock, feed it through the ammunition feed, out through the ejection port, and secure the lock. We'll give it a little tug, make sure it's secure. Once again, ammunition cannot be loaded, and this gun cannot be fired. Next, I'll demonstrate how to apply a trigger lock. Now, trigger locks are designed to fit over a firearm's trigger and trigger guard. Typically, they come in two pieces with a post connecting the two. Now, when applied to a firearm, this post must be placed behind the trigger. The most common mistake made when applying trigger locks is to place that connecting post in front of the trigger, because in that position, the gun can still be fired. So we'll take the two pieces of the trigger lock, we'll insert the post behind the trigger, bring them two together on either side of the trigger guard, remove the key, and now this trigger and the trigger guard is completely encompassed by the trigger lock. Though it is physically possible to use a trigger lock on a loaded weapon, this is not advised. Accidental injuries have occurred due to improper application of a trigger lock on loaded weapons. And like cable locks, they can be used with a handgun or a long gun. However, trigger locks will not work on all guns due to differences in trigger size, shape and design, or the size of the trigger guard. A great example of this is a single shot break action rifle here. You see when we open it up, there's no magazine well, there's no ammunition feed through which to feed a cable, and the space behind the trigger is too small for the post of the trigger lock to fit through. So for a firearm like this, we're going to need a safe or a lockbox. Now, it might seem obvious how to place a firearm in a safe or lockbox, but there are some things to consider and common mistakes you want to avoid. First, always ensure you're following those gun safety rules while handling your firearms. Second, never allow children or other unauthorized users to know the code, combination, or the location of the keys. So the first thing to consider when choosing a lockbox or safe is the size and number of firearms you need to securely store. If you have only a single handgun in your home, a lockbox this size might suffice for you. If you have multiple firearms in the home, or if you have long guns, there are gun safes which can comfortably hold up to dozens of firearms at a time. Another thing to consider is the type of locking mechanism you want. Lockboxes and safe can use keys, codes and combinations, and various quick access mechanisms, including biometric devices like fingerprint readers. Locking devices with keys tend to be the most affordable, and biometric devices can be more expensive. And speaking of quick access devices, something you'll need to consider is how and where you store your ammunition. Now, the safest option is to store your ammunition securely locked and separately from firearms. Again, the two most important things to remember when using a lockbox or a safe are: one, the safe handling of your firearms, and two, ensuring that no children or other unauthorized users know your codes, combinations, or the location of your keys. And if you ever feel like the safest option is to store your firearms outside of the home, even temporarily, there are also many gun shops and law enforcement locations around the state where you can temporarily store your guns. In Colorado, some family members may be able to temporarily store your guns without going through a transfer process or background check. Always check the laws in your area for specific restrictions. That's all I have for you today. To learn more about the Firearm Injury Prevention Initiative and for additional materials and information on safe storage, go to our website, cufirearminjuryprevention.com.